Okay, so this I like to call the big money panel because these are all VCs. These are people who give people money out. These are the people who judge people like all the pitches that we've been hearing today. So I'm always very, 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 very interested in speaking to people who give startups and give founders the resources that they need to build their dreams. So I'm going to be talking to three of them today, and these are all folks who have built like incredible businesses and supported other businesses on the continent as well. Anil, we met yesterday, and I think one of the things that was very surprising to me when I was reading about just your work and also your personal life as well is that you've been in Nigeria for 20 years, right? And one of the things you said to me yesterday was when you landed in Nigeria, Abacha was still alive. In fact, he died the week after you got here. So you've been here. You've been here for a really long time. And I know that also connotes a certain level of like optimism that, we don't necessarily see in Nigeria as much anymore because like most of the time, if you speak to 5 different people, they're trying to jackpot, but you have been in the country for about 20 years and it looks like you're still going to be here for a while. Yeah, so like what are you seeing here that's like made you stay here this long?
Thank you for that, Fatu. I think I'm a case study for reverse Japa, right? This is home now. This is where I intend to grow old. Thank you.
That's very nice.
To answer your question about the optimism, the points that I would like to make, Dr. Brown made just before me. We will have. So I believe in Nigeria. Let me start there. Like I believe in Nigeria. I believe in Africa as in general, but that belief is driven by data. So Africa is going to be, or Nigeria is going to be the third largest population in just 24 years more, in a landmass that is the size of Texas. 1 in 4 people worldwide in the same period of time is going to be African. So that's Africa as a whole context. So it's not just about the total number of people. If you add a layer that 55% of this population in Nigeria today is connected to the internet, 89% of that population is connected on cellular network. 60% of the population is not even born yet. So they're going to be born with smartphones in their hand. And the final lens that, again, Dr. Brown just mentioned is that where the dollar for dollar, we're the best value for money for producing unicorns. All of these things combined together drives my optimism. There is no reason to not invest in Africa.
And speaking of unicorns, so you posted something on LinkedIn. I think this was like 2 weeks ago, maybe about a week ago or something. And the fund that you're a part of, Antler, 2 of your portfolio companies, Eralo and Lovable, just became unicorns recently. And you were like, yes, you guys are about to back the next unicorn in Africa, right? Right now, we have 9 unicorns. We've spoken about all of them today. So I think that, and actually, apart from Andela, all the companies on that unicorn list are all fintech companies. I think we are due for a non-fintech unicorn in Nigeria. But what industry do you see that potentially happening in? Especially now they're kind of like, okay, I want to be able to just go back unicorns now.
So if I had a crystal ball, right, I would invest in just that sector, not be sector agnostic. But your question reminds me of the first pitch deck of Airbnb ever. And in that pitch deck, we use it as a case study, the market size opportunity. So Airbnb in the earliest days said that their entire market opportunity was $1.8 billion. And that their SOM, which is the serviceable obtainable market, was around $10 million. Their revenue for last year was $10 billion. That is 10 times the size of, or 5 times the size of the market that they anticipated was the full size. This goes to show that you don't set out to build a unicorn. the way to build a great wall is to put one brick in place as perfectly as possible. And if you do that repeatedly, you will build a great wall. Africa has African problems, and all the businesses that have potential to become unicorns are spaces that need to be explored by the bright minds in the room. And the next unicorn could come from edtech, it could come from proptech, it could come from healthtech, because these are real problems with users wanting those solutions to be provided. So it's just a matter of better minds than myself to come up with solutions, and hopefully the pull in the market is going to be great enough that they can organically become a unicorn.
All right, amen to that. Takuma, I am so invested in the work that you do at Uncovered Fund. One of the big things that you do is connecting African startups to Japanese companies, right? So what kinds of partnerships have you seen come out from that? And why has Africa been such a focus for your work at Uncovered?
Okay. Yeah. Actually, we have invested 31 startups so far in Africa, and then our fund is backed by Japanese corporate, so we make more collaboration between Japanese African startup and Japanese corporate, and then let me speak when I first time come to Nigeria, I feel some of the similarity with Japan, Nigeria, which is related similar to the Japanese 70 years ago. But at that time, the Japanese big corporate like Toyota, Sony, or that kind of corporate started, and then so they they contribute the Japanese economic growth. So it means the Japanese economy is grown by the entrepreneurship. So I feel a lot of passion for the Nigerian people, the similar like that, and then so that is very important to connect the Japan Nigerian startups. So we have some collaboration already with Japanese corporate and Nigerian startup like Yamaha, for example, the two-wheeler company, invested to Max, and then so they collaborate with Max. So they try to sell their vehicle with fintech. So that kind of the new way to sell the Japanese product to African market. That is one. And also the AutoCheck got the investment from Toyota Tsusho. The Toyota Tsusho support the AutoCheck to distribute more second-hand car to the African market. Also, in East Africa, the EV is big booming. Japanese corporate provide some technology to EV, OEM startups, and then creating the new battery, new vehicles. So that is already happening. So I think the Japanese corporate can provide a lot of opportunity and a lot of technology to support the startup, and then that makes more hyper growth of the African startups.
All right, thank you so much. So Yuzuru, you have one of the most interesting past lives I have ever seen. And I'm going to have to read from my phone because you have to understand all the things he has done in his life before becoming an entrepreneur. So he used to be a music composer, a robotic engineer, a research biologist, and now you're an entrepreneur. You sold your last company to Yahoo Japan, which I think is so remarkable. And now you're the founder and CEO at FreakOut Holdings. I really love that name, by the way. And I love the philosophy as well, where you say give people work that requires a person. But when people hear that, they might probably think it has something to do with AI or whatever. But what has inspired all of the things that you've done? We have very young founders in the audience right now who are pitching, they're trying to build new companies, and you have just been able to just pivot your career to the point where you're doing what you're doing. You've spent about 15 years doing it. So what has inspired all those moves?
Okay, about my career. Okay, I'm now 50. Yep, and when I was well, what does it mean? And so in my 20s, first I started a musical career when I was still in a university, and after that I started robotics, And after that, I went to the university in the US as a scholar in the biochemistry department. And that was my 20s. So like 3 years musical career, and then 2 years robotics, and 4 years researcher. So I acquired the knowledge of that art and tech and science. And after that, what happened about 20 years ago was Google changed advertising industry. So before Google era, advertising business is like consists on the art and science. That means, well, because advertising business is like, what we do is maximizing the consumer's empathy. So that is art and science. But after Google, they started to do it with the technology. So then after Google, so in advertising business, what we need is art, tech, and science. Oh, so that's what I did. Yeah. So then I decided to start the first advertisement company about 20 years ago, and that was acquired by Japan, Yahoo Japan. And the second company is FreakOut, and I'm now still running that company.
And what's been your interest in the Nigerian market so far with with FreakOut Holdings?
Well, we are our headquarters is in Japan, but we have expanded to about 15 countries, but mainly in Japan, mainly in Asia and the United States, but not in Africa yet. But in case of India, I personally went to India about 10 years ago before starting business and started investment. Then after that, we decided to start a business and start the investment not from me, but from the company. So I think right now we are not doing business in Africa yet, but maybe later. But I think that the similar case is going to happen to like India.
All right, thank you so much. Anil, back to you. So I know one of the things that you also do at Antler as well is it's not the accelerator, is it? It's not, what's it called?
Well, we don't like using the words incubator or accelerator because it sets you up with very specific expectations.
Yeah, you mentioned that yesterday.
We're not here to incubate or help or propel anyone. We're looking for deep domain experts who have an incredible work ethic and want to solve a real problem that they know deeply about. We're just here to help them get there further, faster, with every resource that we can provide. So we basically say, just bring your grit, bring your experience, we'll give everything else that you require, and in 2 months you either have a product or you don't.
So one of the things that I've been having conversations about with friends of mine is that, especially when you're looking at it from like the VC angle, there's all this talk about the fact that there's capital to be deployed, but there's just nowhere for it to go, either because the kinds of businesses that are being presented, no one is really interested in it, or they don't see like a life cycle for this particular business. So have you been seeing that in terms of like just thinking about, okay, what kinds of industries are we going to be giving capital to? And like, what would you tell founders or businesses that are in that like space right now in order to have access to that capital?
The reason, so I have a theory that the reason why we have such great fintech successes is because 15 years ago, 20 years ago, InterSwitch, Nibs decided to create the rails for it. In our ecosystem today, I find everybody, not everybody, I apologize, I rephrase, most of the people chasing the next trend as opposed to thinking deeply about the infrastructure that is required to solve these problems. So if you think about it from that perspective, we at Antler go around saying that we'll invest in anything innovation. And by that, we mean that if there's a poultry farmer that has figured out how to get a chicken to lay 2 eggs instead of 1, we'll invest. It doesn't have to be tech and tech first. It has to be innovative enough that you are relevant in 5, 10 years from now. So that's our lens, that's our view.
By the way, shameless plug, because he just mentioned InterSwitch. I recently had an interview with Michel Legbe, the CEO of InterSwitch, about how he built his unicorn. So if you search for my name on Twitter and go through my timeline, you find an interview there. It's really, really good reading, especially for entrepreneurs building businesses. I'm very interested in what you have to say about like the kinds of trends that you're seeing right now that you think maybe certain investors are kind of like overlooking, and what's kind of like driving your investments in Nigeria? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I see. So yeah. In the past investment, we have some success and some failure. I had experienced, and then I think like the Africa has some risk. Like some political risk and currency risk. And then I know some investor from, the global investor gone for past like few years. But the point is, which is very important to see what is happening, what is, don't miss the opportunity in Africa. So I often come to Nigeria and then see what is happening in the market. That is a very important point. And then also the past 5 years, the city and then, is totally different. And then, and also there's a very great entrepreneur here. I invested Remfi, PGBest, healthtech, and some great Nigerian startups. They are growing, super fast. So always I'm learning from entrepreneurs. So always taking communication with the entrepreneur and then see the market and then take a risk. That is very important as an investor.
All right, thank you. Yuzuru, so there are lots of inspiring or aspiring founders in the room right now, and even people who have businesses here. And just based on everything you've done so far, like what would be one advice that you give to people that are now trying to build like really great companies?
Well, there are a lot of the local specific issue. And I was thinking, why don't you look at those things? And in Japan, we have a lot of local issues, but I think here you guys have more than that. Yeah, that's one my advice. And one more advice. And if you the pitch to the foreign investor, if I talk about the differentiation between your company and the competitors, but what we want to know is not only that, but also the local problem, the difference between your country's industry and other countries. So these two are very important for our pitch, I think. Yeah.
Thank you so much, and thank you to everyone who's listened to us. I am like such a big believer in our ecosystem and all of the great work that everyone has done so far. So thank you all so much for just like telling us everything that you think about Africa and Nigeria's ecosystem and why you continue to commit and invest here. So thank you very, very much. Please give them a round of applause.